Good morning. Thank you, Becky, for extending the invitation for me to come kick off your series on commitment. I'm very excited about that. Anytime I get to spend quality time with folks who either are committed, have been committed, or other people think you should be committed, I'm all in. So I appreciate you all being here this morning. I also wanted to point out my expertise in this area of talking about commitment. I am a lifelong fan of the Chicago Cubs. That in and of itself makes me an expert on commitment, yes? So some of you who have heard me speak before know that I am the queen of props. It's a little hard to do props electronically. So today, instead of props, I'm going to do pop quizzes. So be prepared for your pop quizzes. They'll be really easy, just so you know. And I'll give you the answer after I give you the question, so that helps. So first, let's talk about the definition of commitments, because I want to make sure we're all on the same page, okay? So we're going to do a progressive definition of commitment. The common one people think of is like the Give Yourself to Love song, which was written by Kate Wolf, amazing singer-songwriter who's on another plane now, but Kate wrote it for a friend's wedding. So give yourself to love. So the commitment of being bound to a person, thing, or idea, being devoted to it with a pledge or assurance that we've made. That's one definition of commitment. A second definition of commitment, being loyal and willing to give your time and energy to something you believe in. Those who are actively involved in the pod have a commitment to the pod in some way, shape, or form. You might have a commitment to a social organization, to a school group or a sorority or fraternal group, anything like that, where you have a commitment where you're loyal and willing to give your time and energy. And then the third commitment, promising yourself, first and foremost, to be involved in a plan of action, commitments we make to ourselves. Now, what happens commonly when we make commitments is we're sort of stuck in a sense of duality with our commitments. For example, we're drawing out new ideas, but at the same time, we're drawing a box around our beliefs and defending them. Or we're engaging in personal empowerment, but at the same time, we're engaging in self-sabotage. Or we're seeing peace on earth, goodwill to all, and we're seeing others as wrong instead of just as different. You see yourself in any of those things? So here's our first pop quiz. Who here is afraid of commitment? Show of hands. Okay, and I'm not talking just about relationship commitments that we're afraid of. I'm also talking about the commitments of our time, our energy, our talents, commitment of our financial resources. And my three personal favorites are words, our thoughts, and our actions. And we'll get to what I mean by being committed to your words and your thoughts and your actions. Okay, so these are all areas that I touch on more in depth in my book, Giving Thanks, but it's just a way to look for where are you coming from a place of gratitude when you commit your time, your energy, your resources, your talents, your words, your thoughts, and ideas. A lot of times we'll commit to something, but we'll do it with resentment, or we'll do it grudgingly, or we'll do it with strings attached, and we'll get to that part in just a second as well. Okay, so we're talking about being afraid of commitment, fear of commitment, right? So where are we afraid to go all in with our commitments? This is where we're going today. We're going to talk about how we get to that place where we don't have resentments or misgivings or withholding of what we're committed to, where we're all in. You know, sort of like when you're playing a game of poker, you know, you go all in, right? So what am I committed to? Let's start there. You know, to help you figure out what you're committed to, let's look at what I'm committed to. So I'm committed to spreading the teachings of New Thought everywhere I can. You know, if I'm invited to speak, like Becky invited me to speak today, I say yes. When I go to Kenya, I spread the word about New Thought in Kenya to as many ministers as I possibly can. It doesn't matter whether the New Thought teachings are unity, UFBL, science of mind, religious science, divine science, independent New Thought. I don't care. I just spread the word. My friend Patrick, he also has a commitment. He is committed to teaching and spreading the word about yoga as a spiritual practice. So basically, yoga as being your church, yoga as being the place you go to get spiritually fed. And when he was 27, 20 years ago, he had this idea for a model of yoga as a spiritual practice and yoga studios as a spiritual home for people. And he started giving Dharma talks on Sunday. And the crowds just kept growing and growing and growing, and people would flock to the classes being taught at his yoga center, which oddly enough was called Kindness Yoga. Just like my company is called Compassionate Mediators. When you put kindness, compassion, love, anything in front of the work that you're doing, you're making that commitment, you're solidifying that for yourself and for the people you touch. So he created Kindness Yoga. It developed into 9 different centers, 9 different locations. They had a staff of over 160 and over 2,000 members. But here's what was interesting about the way he structured Kindness Yoga. He worked on the premise of they don't charge you to walk in the door to attend a Sunday service. They don't charge you to attend church or temple or mosque or any place else, right? They don't ask you for an entrance fee. So in his thinking, why were they asking people for an entrance fee to take yoga classes? So his model was, sure, they had memberships. You could be a monthly or annual member to support the center, but everyone was allowed who wanted to come. They were allowed to come in and sit on a mat and practice their spiritual practice without having to give any money. And he built it knowing that it would be fully supported and fully loved by the community. And that was his commitment. He went all in, not knowing how it was going to turn out. Did you know that we'll do it as pop quiz number 2. Pop quiz number 2. Who here knows the word for fear of commitment? And no, you can't use your husband's name. So fear of commitment is gamophobia. Gamophobia. It comes from the Greek word gamos, G-A-M-O-S. And what's interesting is gamos is both a noun and a verb, as many words are. As a noun, it means wedding, marriage. As a verb, it means give yourself to. To give yourself to another, to a union, to something that you believe in. Give yourself to yourself. Give yourself to love, as the beautiful song that Janine and Ronnie sang for us taught us. Give ourselves to love. So when we give ourselves to love, what does that actually look like? Course in Miracles has a wonderful section. It's chapter 6 called The Lessons of Love. And there's a section in that chapter called The Lessons of the Holy Spirit. So here's the Holy Spirit teaching us all about the lessons of love, yes, according to the Holy Spirit. And there's a small little quote in there that's the crux of this section. To have, give all to all. To have, give all to all. And of course, it's the lessons of love. So what is it I'm trying to have? To have love, I must give love, give all love, give only love to everyone. Not just to those who are in this room, not just to those who watch online, not just to those who are in our community, not just to those who have the same beliefs we do, but all. Give love to all. So it brings me to pop quiz number 3, okay? What gets in the way of you giving love to all? What gets in the way of you going all in? Besides the fear, specifically. It's when we mix up our commitment, when we are committed to the form of something instead of to the substance of it. Now, what do I mean by form? If I am committed to the person speaking, if I am committed to the location, it's near to my house, it's far from my house. If I'm committed to the environment, oh, it's too cold. Oh, I don't do well electronically. Oh, it's too crowded. Oh, we have to be socially distant. Oh, maybe it's the beliefs. Oh, the people that used to run the place believed this, but now these people believe this. Whenever we start to commit to the form of something, where I have another idea of how things should be. Now I'm committed to the form again. We should have chairs instead of pews. We should have 3 cameras instead of 1. We should have the live band back. We come up with all of these, what we should be doing as a way to couch and make small our commitment to anything. Think about the people in any movement that you're involved in and how, initially you're all in and then eventually there's factions. And everything gets divided up into these factions. And now you don't believe what I believe, so I can't be your friend anymore. I can't be your close confidant. You're not even in my family anymore, right? Because we've committed to this form that we have. When the truth is, what we want is to make sure our commitment is to the substance of what we have. What is the commitment to the substance? Like the substance is the belief that stands behind the form. It's the foundation. And the form can take many different ways. If you've ever redecorated any room in your house or even just moved the furniture around, you understand what I'm talking about. The substance stays the same, but you can create any form you want with it. A form that invites people in or a form that pushes people away. Yes? So like the pod. You believe in the substance of what the pod stands for. What does the pod stand for? Let's look at the pod's purpose, shall we? I think I have somewhere in here, of course, the pod mission and vision. The mission of the New Way People of Diversity is to continually develop the higher consciousness of our community members so that we synergistically affect positive change in the world. And the vision, I'm very, very attached to the vision. I hope they don't change the form of the vision. How's that? Is that good? The vision of the New Way People of Diversity is a clean, healthy world of love, peace, equality, and freedom for all beings. We'll talk about that in a second, yes? So, pop quiz number 4. For all beings. Remember those last words of the vision, yes? All beings. Pop quiz. Are people really good at heart? Do you believe that all people are really good at heart? Or are some more good than others? This quote may sound familiar. Anne Frank, young Anne Frank, originally wrote, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart." In spite of everything. And I want to tie that into something that I put out and share with people when I speak, which is Ryan's Rules of Order number 6. People say that my rules of order are musty because I leave no wiggle room. So number 6 says, you must assume everyone is operating from a position of love, never from a position of malintent, even if that love is being obscured by fear. Even if that love is being obscured by fear. Can you still believe people are really good at heart? Anne Frank's quote isn't about the events, though. They take some little snippets of quotes. People do that all the time, right? Let's put it in the larger context of what Anne Frank was talking about. Her full quote says, "It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals, because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. Yet I keep them because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. So she was talking about keeping these not because of, in spite of the things people were doing, but because these were her ideals. She was committed to her beliefs in the goodness of humankind and that love would triumph all and that everything would be all right in the end. You know, how did that turn out for Anne? She died of typhus in a concentration camp. How did it turn out for Jesus? You know, love everybody. Turn the other cheek. He was smitten, yes? Crucified. How did these ideals turn out for my friend Patrick? In 3 days' time, just last month, in 3 days' time, he lost his reputation, his business, his financials were in a disaster personally as well as for the business, and 160 employees lost their jobs. Not because of anything he had done, not because of anything he hadn't done, because of the fears of a few people who were attached to a form that they didn't think they saw. When we attach to a form, we lose sight of the substance. We lose sight of the foundation on which things are built in our world. And if love is that substance, if our foundation is built on the truth of love and oneness, and we put aside the toys of the form, we wind up connecting with each other. We wind up having the ability to give ourselves to love and change things in a conscious, positive way. Yes? Dry fingers. So what we're talking about here is holding our ideals, that no one and nothing can disturb the calm peace of my mind. That was a quote that Judy Elia, some of you know, had on her wall in her office at the first church I ever walked into, Unity by the Bay in Severna Park, Maryland, the first New Thought church. And I saw that and I knew I was home. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of your mind. Unless, of course, we give it permission to. That's always our right. But can we extend love? Can we stay firm in our ideals no matter what's happening out there? Can we come from a place of peace? Put it this way, another word for commitment is determination. So I am determined. So I can be committed. I'm also determined. I am determined to do everything in my power to ferret out any place in me that is unlike love. I firmly know and believe that anytime I see something out there, I see prejudice out there, I see fear out there, I see hatred out there, I see anything that I deem as being less than loving, it's only because it's in me. You know, whatever I see out in the world is a reflection of me. Course in Miracles says, there's no one else out here. You know, there's just me. My brother and I are one. So whatever I'm projecting onto my brother, whatever form I'm seeing my brother taking, I'm forgetting the substance of who my brother is. Just because their ideas may be different than mine doesn't make mine right and theirs wrong, or mine wrong and theirs right. They're just different. A wonderful phrase in mediation is, tell me more. When someone tells you something and it triggers something in you, you can say, wow, I had a visceral reaction to that. Tell me more about what you're talking about. And leave the form, the filters on the side. Truly be receptive to hearing what they're saying and searching within that to find the common ground, because there is always common ground. You know why? Because there's always love. if I give myself if I go all in to this concept of love and this concept of a common ground, that's when the magic happens. That's when we start to create what we say we want. Now, I've lost track of what number quizzes we're on. So we'll say final pop quiz. Okay, how many people here are committed to world peace, committed to a world that works for all, like the course, like, world that works for all, like the pod's vision says? Okay, unanimous. Okay, so if I believe in world peace, and if I believe in a world that works for everyone, then it's up for me to ask myself a very important question. And it's a question I've been pondering because I'm working on a memoir about my work as a peacekeeper, my work as a mediator. And the memoir is titled, I Come in Peace, or Do I? Because think about it, no matter how peaceful and loving we say we are, there's always those moments. They get fewer and fewer, but sometimes they pop up and you're like, what just happened? You know, I come in peace, or do I? You know, if I commit and recommit with every breath I take, with every interaction I have with someone else, with every time I'm tweaked to my ideals of a world that works for everyone, of world peace, and that I see it right here and right now, that I don't have to feel guilty. I don't have to make anyone else feel guilty. I don't have to feel unworthy. I don't have to make anyone else feel unworthy, and so on. This is a world that works for everyone, and we all are part of an intricate, woven tapestry. If we lose a single thread of that tapestry, we lose our wholeness. We lose that vision. You know, so when we're seeing the truth, we're seeing what Anne Frank saw as she was living in hiding from the Germans, from the Nazis, that all people are really good. Like some people have twisted the quote around to say are basically good. No, she said all people are really good. At heart, they are good. Their actions may be coming from a place of love for something else, but and are being masked by fear, but that doesn't change the goodness. You know, but there are times when we don't think we're good, and so we project that out onto others so that we can say they're the ones that aren't good. I don't have to look at my stuff. Be willing to look at your stuff. Go all in with loving yourself first and foremost. You know, there's a wonderful quote. The pen is mightier than the sword. That doesn't mean you type out, you know, nasty little grams on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or anywhere else. It means we have the power with our words and our thoughts and our actions to create greater change than the sword. You know, what did Jesus say? Jesus said, those who live by the sword die by the sword. If you live in a state of war in your mind, in your thoughts, in your actions, you're going to die in a state of war. You'll never see the world peace. You'll never see the world that works for everyone that's already here. But my favorite way to think of this whole idea of commitment, this idea of being all in for love, is another quote from Anne Frank. Anne Frank also said, in the long run, the sharpest weapon is a kind and gentle spirit. Thank you very much. Namaste.